Hey, this is your name. And they say it ain't easy. Being green.
Gang Green
New York Jets
have their man.
Jets got themselves a great
Robert Saleh.
talk about all gas, no break.
The great one.
We're not talking about effort on the field. We're talking about the process at which we do things.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hurry up. Keep your foot on the pedal. Base.
There's no way I'm not gonna have enthusiasm on the sideline.
Hey, own this rep. The New York Jets
Can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the A.E.B.G Being Green podcast, broadcasting to you live from the jewel of the Hudson Valley, Putnam Valley, New York. My name is Keith Farrell. I am joined, as always, by my colleague and co-host, the number one Jet fan in the state of Texas, Michael Lagaris, everybody.
The number one in the state of Texas.
Off the heels of preseason game one. You know, Mike, Adam Gase was canned that first week of January. I think it was January 3rd. Seems like a million years ago to Jet fans at this point. You know why? Because subsequently after that, we brought in Robert Saleh. We had a great draft. We brought in Zach Wilson. All these rookies have a bunch of hype. So much anticipation before this first game. That seems like a million years ago. Seems like a different era. Seems like a different regime, which it is, but it doesn't seem any way connected to this same year we're in, right? Because that first game yesterday with the preseason we had, actually the offseason we had with the draft, the offseason we had with the new coaching staff, with free agency, Joe Douglas finally getting to maybe put out there on the field what he wants in his mind the Jets to be for the first time. I think this preseason game had a lot of hype behind it, a lot of eyes on it. I know it's New York, so Zach Wilson, every single pass you throw is going to be put under the microscope. And can I say, Mike, the reviews of our boy here after week one, 9 passes. If you can look good in just throwing 9 passes and not throwing a touchdown, he managed to do that. He was competent, moved the ball well, moved the offense down the field a couple of times, looked like a competent quarterback. You know, when they had that green and white scrimmage, Mike, when you go up against the same defense so often, I think it's difficult to go out there in a scrimmage. You kind of fool them. I know a lot of people say that too. You go up against a defense like the Giants have. And I know maybe the Giants in some places on the field, Mike, weren't playing all their starters. Don't get me wrong. But it is what it is. Zach Wilson, 9 passes, slung 6 in there. Looked great to me, Mike. I know you were excited. I know Jet fans are excited. I know writers were excited. I know his teammates were even saying a lot of great things. I know you can't get too ahead of yourself here, but what do you think? We're going to get into everything with the Jets here, but what everyone wants to hear about first is one Zach Wilson. Mike, how do you think he looked? What do you think about our boy after his first quarter out there, his first 2 drives out there as a New York Jet?
I haven't been this excited since Sam Darnold's rookie season, just straight up from that very first year after Gase. I really wasn't I was like, all right, hopefully Sam's good, but I was, not really as excited as Amp because Adam Gase, and I was like, how far are we really going to get? But let me just say this, going into this game, there was a lot of pressure on one Zach Wilson, and the older I get and the more I'm part of this with the Jet, I understand this whole media narrative thing. I'm actually sit back and I say, wow, you and me, we're constantly always chipped in with Zach Wilson and with the Jets, how they're doing every day, what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And we know that Zach came in a little later and then he started working with the first team offense and he was doing really, really good in the beginning. He had a really bunch of good practices and everything like that. And in the beginning, the thing is that the plays are kind of scripted. So when he was in there, when he threw that pass to Elijah Moore, and we were all like, that was a play that he already knew he was comfortable and so on and so forth. So as the practices progressed, they started installing more parts of the offense that he didn't know. And also, instead of walking through and understanding the play, they were rating it into his head. So now he had to make decisions instead of understanding the scripted play. And that's when you started seeing some of his practices go up and down a bit. But it was mostly better good than bad. And I have the metrics against it. There were 12 practices, 6 or 7 of them he was really good, and the other ones he was up and down, none of them that he was bad, right? So that's what was going on, but there was really no national narrative. And then came the green and white scrimmage, which he struggled in, not to where he was throwing interceptions or anything like that, but the offense looked a little sluggish and so on. And then what happens? We have Ralph Vacchiano, we have Rich Cimini. We have some of these, top high level, those in the media who say Zach Wilson played bad or he did. And then all of a sudden, all I had was to take was just that one practice. Because that's what it was. It was a practice. It wasn't a game. It was a practice, right?
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you start seeing all these shows. I saw Marcellus Wiley they don't really have, grit and they don't fight in camp. And then I saw this other Sean King, I'm telling you, Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask are going to be better than Zach Wilson. And then Colin Cowherd, Zach Wilson's going to be a scrub. Just the whole media all week after that one tweet from Rich Cimini, right? And his negative ass. Now Zach Wilson's a scrub. That's the narrative. Oh, we all knew, right? This is how it works. Now, you and me, we know he's doing his thing in camp. We know he's not scrubbing it. If he was we remember Geno Smith in camp. We remember Christian Hackenberg in camp, right?
God.
Zach Wilson is playing with the first team, and again, he's getting used to the calls coming into his head, making decisions, so on and so forth. So then we come to tonight, last night, right? When they play the Giants. And I was very impressed. I saw all the rookie quarterbacks. As you know, we have a SEFL draft, our dynasty. I'm looking to get 2 quarterbacks. One of them potentially could be Zach Wilson. I watched every single play of every single quarterback. I'm going to tell you right now, son, I'm not being biased. I'm not being a Jet fan. Zach Wilson looked the most comfortable. He looked the most efficient. Okay. And he made the best throws I saw of any rookie quarterback. Now, it was just 2 drives. It wasn't anything crazy. Let's not get insane. But I don't think I've ever seen Sam Darnold as comfortable as that in the pocket. Okay? The third downs, and we're going to get into these plays here in a second. He completed 3 third downs, and one of them got called back for a holding.
Yeah.
3 third downs. I want you to think back into the years of Sam sitting back in the pocket, 3rd and 9. How many times he converted a first down? You know what I'm saying? From the pocket, not running, not crazy. Like you always look like you. I was extremely impressed in what I saw from young Zach. And, again, now all of a sudden, what did you see today? Colin Cowherd saying, well, Zach may be a little bit, may have some success early because of look at the schedule, trying to backtrack. Scrub, man. This is why the narratives, man, it just bothers me. And then all the fans are so gullible and they listen. Not all of them, excuse me, guys. I'm not trying to.
Not A.E.B.G fans.
Not A.E.B.G.
Of course, none of them. We're talking about all the rest of these fools.
But they're like, oh, this guy is terrible. And then and then guess what? The first headline from practice, Zach Wilson has a quiet showing. That was the headline in the post. But what was Justin Fields? Lights it up his first camp. Trey Lance throwing bombs. Trevor Lawrence. Oh, he had a fumble, but comes back with command. Yo, Zach Wilson played better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
Played better than Trevor Lawrence. But of course, again, it's narratives. It's what people want the discussion to be. You got to look past that. You got to see it for what it really is. Okay. So all in said, I thought Zach had a phenomenal game, and I really enjoyed watching him play from the pocket against the New York Giants.
Yeah, we're missing Elijah Vera Tucker this game. No Elijah Moore out there either, but you saw him targeting Corey Davis more often than not. I think there was 2 incompletes to Davis, 2 passes he was able to complete. One of them was on a first down. I think it was a 9-yard pass there right on that first drive.
That's right. And
that was a timing pass, laser beam pass to Davis, first down, what you're looking for. Another one of those third downs, like you said, Mike, the Crowder that they had got a first down on did get called back. And if you remember the next play, 13-yard pass to Croft for Wilson. They almost got a first down there too. They still almost got the first down, even though they had a penalty.
Under pressure.
Under pressure, exactly. Then one thing they showed in the game, or he showed at least, they had some of those designed rollouts showing them throw the ball on the move, which seems like they might do, put him in his position to succeed. We've said this a million times. We're not reinventing the wheel here. In all sports, this is what they try to do with young players. That's what the Jets seemed to do with Zach Wilson the other night. And he did a pretty good job. I saw one pass, the pass to Davis near the goal line there was a little shaky to me. That could have been intercepted, but luckily for him, he's one of those guys that does throw the ball so hard that the defender and the receiver, that reaction time, you have to be right on it and it bounced off the defender. I know one pass that was an incomplete for Zach there. Croft fell down on the route. That's not his fault there. Then one other pass that wasn't that great. But when you go through these first drives the Jets had, and we're going to get into the defense, guys. We're going to get into Bryce Huff and some of these other aspects of the game. Won't go too crazy. I know most of the time there was second and third tier guys in there, but those are the guys that when the year gets going, you're going to know their names. You know, you're going to know these Javelin Guidrys. You're going to know some of these second and third tier guys as the year gets going because there's always injuries. You need to have a good depth, and it seems like the Jets might be trending in that direction. But with the first beginning drive there, one thing you did see, Mike, and the whole night, I should say, is the Jets are going to run the ball. You know, we're going to run this ball. And I think you draft the quarterback number 2. It sounds very sexy. But like we said, if you want to put this kid in a position to succeed, then have it be 2nd and 6. You know, give us some areas, give us some downs. You know, he can throw on and take a shot like a 2nd and 6, a 2nd and 5, instead of more predictable situations like Sam seemed to always be in. We go to run the ball, it's 2nd and 9. Now the other team's like, well, they're probably going to pass it. You know, I mean, we didn't, and that's our own fault. And I'm not saying the Jets ran the ball very well necessarily. I like how Ty Johnson looked. I'm going to get into Carter in a second, Mike. I think P. Ryan got the ball a bunch in the second half. Didn't average too much. Was able to get a touchdown though. I like us to get more yards on the ground. Giants have a decent defense, but I think what you saw was that Ty Johnson, when he does get a chance here, and with these kind of zone running schemes we're going to be running, where he's going to be able to get out in space, he looked pretty effective, Mike. And we talked about Zach Wilson going through this first drive. Ty Johnson had a run there right at the beginning, 11 yards. Ty Johnson another run for 3 yards. Then they put Carter in. Now Carter had 2 runs there at the beginning that were solid. I think he had about 2 5-yard runs and got a first down. After that with Michael Carter, Mike, we're just A.E.B.G fans. We're going to bounce all over the place here with this first game because there's so much to discuss. I just want to talk about Carter real quick, Mike, before I forget. After that, I was a little concerned just because of this. Obviously, if he gets in space, he's going to be pretty good. Even though you look at the 40 time, it wasn't crazy, but I think he can generate yards. Mike, but when he had to go up into a hole in this game, or when the Jets offensive line couldn't get a push for Carter in this game, all you saw was him he's not a big guy. He's 200 pounds, 5'9". So you saw him go up in the hole and just get pushed right back. So when we're looking at him, and you didn't look at him necessarily as a guy you think's going to be getting 25 touches, I know, but some people did. And I just think we need to hit the brakes on that for now, at least, and let him get his bearings, because not that he's too small. I'm not saying he's not, but on some of those runs, Mike, it looked like he couldn't power through there. And he might be somebody who's more ideal setup. His skill set's more ideal for a third down back as opposed to an every down back like a Ty Johnson. Probably going to be having a committee back there. But what do you think about the running game, Mike, especially early on there in the first quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Carter. I was a little bit disappointed in what I saw from Carter there in the beginning. He did have 2 good 5-yard runs from the beginning, and then after that, it didn't look like he was really getting that push. He ended up on the night having 7 carries for 22 yards at 3.1 a clip. You know, not too impressive, but he's a rookie, and we'll see what happens. He did get a reception for 9 yards, and I think he's going to be more utilized in the flats going forward. But I'm telling you, when they started this offense, their first play was to the left, a run to the left with Ty Johnson. He looked beast mode. He was able to push through. Again, Keith said we may be a little bit all over the place here, but one of the big concerns I had, and I'll be honest, and maybe I shouldn't have had this concern, was around A.E.B.G. And the reason why is because I hear every single practice that he's getting his ass beat by Carl Lawson. Every single practice, sack. I'm like, man, is this guy a scrub? What is going on? He did great last season. What's the deal? So I watched A.E.B.G. I was actually watching him more than I was watching Zach in the beginning. I'll be completely real with you in that first one of those 2 drives. But his run blocking is elite. End of story. Now, I think his run blocking is definitely better than his pass blocking, but he did a good job in the pass blocking. I know that wasn't against the number 1 defensive line of the New York Giants, but what he was able to do on Saturday night, to me, checked the box. I said, okay, so he's good, but from a run blocking perspective, phenomenal. And that's without A.B.G. And Ty Johnson just was having his way. That very first play, 11 yards. And then, you know, that set up with Zach Wilson with a nice play to Corey Davis, like he said, and then Carter with the 2 5-yard runs. And then what happened is there was a bad ball to Davis. That was one of Zach's bad balls. And then it was 3rd down and 5, and Zach threw with anticipation, hit Corey Davis for 9 yards and a first down. That throw, I said, okay, you know. And then Johnson again hit 2 runs for 7 yards, which set up the field goal. So I'm saying that I think that this offense is going to be predicated on the run, and it looks like Ty Johnson and then maybe Tevin Coleman are going to be the two main backs there with Carter in the flats. P. Ryan, potentially, he's been doing really well in camp. He looked pretty good with the second team. I don't know. We'll see. I've been hearing a lot about P. Ryan. I think he's going to make the team.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a committee backfield. There's not going to be anybody one super horse. If there is, I think that would be potentially Ty Johnson. But
yeah,
it
seems like Salah. It seems like, I mean, it's not like he got the ball a lot, P. Ryan. It's not like he was that productive, but it seems like Salah and the coaches like him, and you've heard a lot of good things out of camp about P. Ryan this training camp, Mike. I think he's going to make the squad. I think, like you said, this committee approach to the running back, which is every team does, which they did in San Francisco, which if you're running a really good zone, if you have a really good zone running scheme where your offensive line itself is in sync, as long as you have a decent running back, you're going to be fine. And I think Ty Johnson, not that he's a sexy name a lot of people know about. We've talked about him here. Many podcasts have talked about him. Many Jet writers have talked about how he's probably an underrated guy. The second drive there when they got the ball back, if you remember, started that drive off. He had another 11-yard run. So, I mean, he showed some flashes there, Ty Johnson. I think he's a guy that if he does get a chance to get out there and get the ball 15 times a game, he could average 70, 80 yards. And if he did it over 16 games, obviously that'd be a 1,000-yard guy. Probably underrated. I think Carter, I'm not trying to say Carter after one game, I'm thinking he's going to be a scrub or anything of that nature. Just the visual aesthetic of some of those runs made me think about his size, which we've talked about here on the show before, and we'll see how that translates. Now, when it comes to those wide receivers, Mike, we know Corey Davis looked decent. Denzel Mims, though. Denzel Mims played this game looked like a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he played 7 or 8 plays on special teams, which I did not anticipate happening. But I'll tell you what, if you want to make the team, I'm not saying Denzel Mims is going to get cut. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if you want to validate your spot, and show the coaches, I'll do anything. I'll go on special teams. I'll play with second or third strings, even though I was a second-round draft pick last year. This is what you do. You get out there like Denzel Mims did, and he was very obviously one catch and run he had was tremendous. He's making guys miss all over the place, and you see him out there against the second and third teamers from these other teams like the G-Men, and he did look a cut above those guys, Mike. To me, he looked like in the game like he was a starting player playing with second and third round guys. As much as we criticize him, as much as his role with the team is to be determined, I guess, in this game, at least Denzel Mims went out there and was able to be productive, put some good tape out there. Camp has been up and down for him, but I know that's a guy we're really rooting for here on A.E.B.G, so I was happy to see him have a good game.
I think something is really apparent to me with Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims is in the doghouse. He did something. I don't know what he did. It doesn't make any sense. I won't looking at the guy. I'm like, the kid has crazy talent. I mean, it's there. Now let's be real. Let's bring full circle Denzel Mims, right? Denzel Mims was drafted. We knew, you and me, we talked with what's his name from SB Nation, and what was his one weakness? His route running. We knew that from the
Kendall Couch. Shout out to
Kendall Couch. Shout out to Kendall Couch. We talked about it. Yeah. His route running was his weakness, right?
Yes.
We knew that from the get.
Yes.
He didn't go to his first training camp because of his hamstrings, and then came in week 7, and essentially that rookie year was like a wash, essentially. Okay. Sure. So then he comes in this year, right? He has now in a new offense that he's going to need to learn. We learn now that he ended up getting food poisoning and losing 20 pounds. We didn't even know that it was that serious. And then he went from running with the 1s to running with the 2s to then running with the 3s. And everyone's like, well, what really is going on here? And so he's trying to catch up because of being sick. He's trying to start working on his route running in a system that needs route runners. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Which is a system not really right. And so all of that still to me doesn't add up, that the fact that this dude is running with the 3 with Josh Malone. Like that still doesn't make any sense to me, because the dude has talent, right? Yeah. So I have come to the conclusion that something happened. He said something, he did something that the coaches don't like. And he asked to play special teams, to your point, which is shows I want to play. He's trying to to prove to the coaches he's a dog. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what? He's going to have to prove himself. There's nothing you, me, or anyone else is going to be able to do. I know us Jet fans, we want to see him play. But you know what? These coaches know what the program they want to run. And if he was being insubordinate or he did something, then that's in-house. He's going to have to prove himself, okay? Yeah. I'll be honest. I work with people who I think are talented, and there's people who've done things, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I'm going to pick this person because I trust this person. He may not be as good as you, but I don't know if I could trust you. You don't know if that happened or not. So yeah, that's the conclusion I had. I thought Mims had a phenomenal game. Again, it was against the backups, but he was showing, that he had what it takes, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of games.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's an interesting take on it, Mike, because it does seem a little weird that he was running. He didn't get any burn really with the first team. You saw Vincent Smith out there was getting burned with the first team. And that's not a name that we've necessarily heard above Denzel Mims on the depth chart. We've heard Keelan Cole. We've heard all these other names mentioned. Obviously, Corey Davis is the guy with the biggest contract. Elijah Moore was our big-time draft pick. Crowder is a proven veteran in the NFL. Very good player. All those guys we've heard mentioned maybe ahead of Mims. Vincent Smith wasn't one of those guys. I'm just to your point, man. It's very interesting, but I think, like you said, if you want to earn your spot back, if you want to validate where you were picked, and if you want to prove that you do or you can function in this offense, which is a new offense. For instance, if this was the offense last year, they might not have drafted Denzel Mims, Mike. It might not be a player that fits with what they're doing on paper, at least. 6'3", can run with his speed and his size and everything like that. You find a way to make it work with him. I totally get it. But he might not have been someone on the squad if they knew this was going to be the offense last year, if we had a competent offense at all. But it's interesting to see what happened with Mims. And also some of these other guys we're talking about on defense that flashed in this game. Now, last year, Bryce Huff was a rookie, played 14 games, had a couple sacks, had games that we'd watch where you'd be like, wow, there's a quarter or two where Bryce Huff looked really good. Mike would talk about him. Mike was high on him last year. This game, and I know Mike, he was going against some of these reserve dudes, but at the beginning of the game, they had the starting offensive line in the game, okay, to protect Glennon. So, and at least how I'm looking at it is that Huff was going up against their top guys in the offensive line, got a sack right away when the game started. The first three plays was C.J. Mosley tips the ball when they passed it, right? Mm-hmm. Great play by him, and C.J. Mosley, I thought, played really well in this game. The next play, Rankins up the middle, almost decapitated long neck. I know you saw that, Mike, okay? Then the third play, Bryce Huff gets in there, and I don't know who it was off the edge, the other edge. Off the top of my head, I forget. Someone else almost got there too. And Huff got in there, got the sack. If they're going to generate anything in the realm of a decent pass rush, just with four guys, Mike, or rushing five guys, then like we've hoped this whole time, these young guys we have in the secondary, they're not going to be under as much pressure. That's what this defense is geared towards. And hopefully it's going to play out a lot like what we just saw. I know the Giants did not have a lot of guys in. They didn't have a lot of their starters. Don't get me wrong. You have to like at least what you saw on defense. Even some guys like our boy Marshall, late pick, ended up being playing really well. And I think the defense played pretty good. I think in the second half against their second string guys, the defense played well too. When you look at the numbers, the team numbers, Jets and Giants, Jets 21 first downs, Giants 11. Jets had 12 passing first downs. Giants only had 3 first downs passing the entire game. They only finished with 163 yards on the day. So if you're a Giant fan, I know people say this is just the preseason. You wanted your team to get more than $160 yards. You want to see more from your team. I thought the defense played good, Mike. A bunch of guys stood out. What do you think on the defensive side of the ball? What do you got to say about Gangrene?
Right off the top, that defensive line looks scary, man. They took Lawson out after the first series. And I noticed, they were getting penetrations, like you said. And I see Bryce Huff coming in there just causing havoc. John Franklin Myers on the second possession almost caused a fumble.
Yeah, I meant to mention that.
Line, and I'm saying to myself, they don't even have Quinnen yet. They don't even have Q. And they're about to have Lawson, Q, and they even their entire defensive line isn't even fully healthy yet.
I know,
and they're looking like this. Okay, it's something to behold, man. This is exciting stuff. And then looking at the linebackers, my goodness, you got C.J. Mosley out there and Jared Davis looking pretty well, and then Hamza Nasruddin.
The fumble.
Yeah, the fumble.
Had a couple other big hits. Now,
I was like,
we were talking about when we did our draft, Michael, and we got into these mini camps and we talked about the weak side linebacker position. Jamie and Sherwood, Nasruddin, seemed like that's what the Jets were hoping for, is one of those guys could fill that hole, at least for one game. Nasruddin looks like the real deal, man. Playing that weak side linebacker, was able to get in there and make some tackles, cause some issues. And like you said, there's no Quinn. Quinn Williams is one of the best defensive players in the league. Okay, so we didn't have him. He's not even playing yet. Okay, Lawson, we just gave people a taste of Lawson. All you've heard, I know, Mike, Rich Samini can be very negative. I understand. His player of the camp so far is Carl Lawson, and he said it's not. He said it, as you know, Mike. You're
it's
following.
not even close.
And Mike said, Mike, you said the same thing to me. It's not even close. Not even close. And he's going up against Mekhi Becton, who we know. I'm not saying Mekhi Becton is a Pro Bowl tackle yet. Mekhi Becton's pretty good, pretty big. So that's the only reason why with Becton getting burned by Lawson, it seems like a lot in practice. Like, well, at least Lawson seems like he's just in the zone right now. I mean, that dude seems like he is in the zone right now. And he didn't play much, but the Jets were able to create a pass rush. Secondary didn't play that bad. We saw our boy Javelin Guidry make a big play in there. Like we said, Nasruddin was able to get in there, cause some issues. Marshall, late pick in the draft, 6th rounder, causing problems for people too. So there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that we have on this defensive line. Jonathan Franklin Myers, a Bryce Huff. I mean, these are dudes that unless you're a Jet fan and you're a psycho listening to this podcast like you are, if you listen to a Jet podcast, teams don't know about these guys. NFL players do, but your buddies don't know when you go to work. These Giant fans don't know. And you're going to tell them one day, you're going to say, Bryce Huff, watch, this guy's going to get 10 sacks this year. Because Salah, I mean, he is high. Salah, some of the things he was saying about Huff after the game, Mike, about how he came into the offseason really serious, transformed his body. I mean, I know these superlatives, and Salah is a very positive coach. We know a lot of positive sound bites you get out of him about his players, and that's why players dig him. But what he was saying with what I heard him say about Huff was this is someone that came in knowing my spot's not guaranteed. Okay, I'm trying to become a first teamer. And he said this kid's played so good in camp, it's hard to deny him running out there with the ones, which he did. And he looked more than formidable. So if Bryce Huff wants to go ahead and become a problem too, Mike, and we have Q, and we have Jonathan Franklin Myers, and we have Rankins, and in the middle you have, our boy Mosley running around, and Nasruddin's going to be a factor, and Davis out there, Jared Davis can just play adequately. Then
and let me give you some kudos. I don't think that is a question to me who the second best cornerback for the New York Jets is, and that is going to be our boy Austin. He's just going to be the guy. Eccles and Pinnock, those guys are, they're good. I mean, I don't know if one of them is going to make the team or not. Isaiah Dunn, but I definitely think we have our starting cornerbacks. I don't know if they're going to be the cornerbacks for the future, but Bryce Hall, those two are going to end up being our starters.
And you look at it, you look at the secondary. Mike Austin's the most experienced guy in the secondary, and he started 16 games at corner. So I think it might be the same type of situation that I said with Bryce Hall, where by default Hall and Austin probably are the best guys now in the middle of August that we have. We'll see what happens as the year goes on. Someone could flash. Some of these guys could improve. Isaiah Dunn or maybe Carter, one of these guys becomes a top-level corner. But as of right now, I think those are our two best guys. Yeah. That's why a few months ago, I hadn't seen, in my mind at least, I wasn't saying Austin is an elite corner. I was just saying for what we had on the squad, I didn't see anyone that was going to leapfrog him, but you still a lot of time left before the season starts too, Mike. So we'll see what happens with that. I didn't see anybody else. I saw Guidry make one good play in there.
First defensive, he broke up a play. He did
broke
really
up a play,
well.
played well.
Yep.
And to be honest, the Giants, they couldn't really get anything going on offense. And I know it was our defense, but I also think it was a byproduct of just their second and third string guys couldn't get anything done. They had no really rhythm on offense at all. And then of course the Jets caused that too. But man, when it comes to the end of the day and the smoke clears, I mean, the main takeaway from this game, from a preseason game, like we said, guys, it's preseason, but there's only 3 preseason games for most teams this year. I know we're all used to kind of discounting that first preseason game and the results or anything that happens within it. However, only 3 games this year. So the coaches are trying to get as much tape and as much in as they can in these beginning games, in this first game especially. And I did like how Zach Wilson looked. That was kind of my biggest takeaway from the whole thing. Yeah. Mims, Michael,
Keith, the 2 highest rated offensive players according to PFF, Zach Wilson, 83.5, Denzel Mims, 80.3.
There you go.
Top two.
There you go. I mean, Jet fans love to hear that.
Oh, they love to.
Jet fans love to hear that.
Some Mims.
And
They
if
love some
we
Zach.
if we could, I mean, you try to think of how this could play out this year, and we went through our projections, Mike, and we went through the schedule and what we thought. I think me and you were both around 7 wins, 7-8 wins for the team this year in this 17-game schedule. But if the defense gets to a place where they're surprising people, I think more than even the offense, I think the defense can actually really go out and surprise some people this year. Because I think with Quinn Williams and Mosley and some of the other pieces that we have, I think people just look at the secondary and the holes we have and think, people are just going to light the Jets up passing the ball. And they might be right. They might be right, Mike. But I think if this, like CJ Mosley said after this game, which is a quote that I just love, was if you take this team lightly, you're going to come in and get your asses blown out. That's what CJ Mosley said, which, first of all, you love the confidence. I love that he came back after only playing, 2 games or 1 game in 2 years for the Jets. And, it was like, I'm ready to go. He's hyped. And he seems like somebody, along with a Morgan Moses type, Mike, that is just a leader. Going to be a leader on the squad there on defense. And I'm hyped, man. I mean, I know it's only 9 passes, but I remember when we watched the first preseason game with Sam Darnold, he threw an interception. We don't want to do this, Jet fans. We don't want to see what we just saw on TV and give in to, oh my God, I think this guy's going to be good. I think this guy's the real deal because it's only 9 passes. It's preseason. I get it. And we're so used to getting ahead of ourselves. And with Jet fans, what happens? We get let down. We get disappointed. We had Mark Sanchez. We had Sam Darnold. We had other seasons, other disappointments. We know how it is, guys. So we're conditioned as Jet fans psychologically to see Zach Wilson those first 2 drives. And even though the rest of the world, the people that are being objective that are not Jet fans are like, wow, you look really good, man, slinging the ball, this and that. Some Jet fans are like, whatever, man. It's 1 game. It's preseason, it's this and that. Don't do that to yourselves, guys. Don't do it to yourselves. Give in. Give into it because we're about to go on a ride here. The Jets, okay? Okay, we're all these people that have been talking smack, Mike, all the Patriot fans you've had to deal with all these years, all these arguments you've been in, all our Giant fan friends, all these arguments we've been in with them, the back and forth, the sniping, the petty shots at the squad that people take at us all the time, Mike. All of that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It exists. It's part of what makes us Jet fans. It's part of what Jets history is all about. But guess what? I got a funny feeling that's going to change. And I got a funny feeling that it has not been easy to be green for a long time, Mike. But
not.
I got a funny feeling that in the future, this next turn we're about to take is about to be a positive one. And we're no homers. We're no half glass full guys. We're no guys that are rah-rah. We have been sitting here bashing the Jets, just like all you Jet fans listening right now. Every time they needed to get bashed, we bashed them. Every time they've done something good, we're here for you because Jet fans got your back, and so do me and Mike. But we're not unrealistic when we come to our projections, how we think things are going to go with this squad. And I can say, I feel good, Mike. I feel good.
I feel good too. I haven't felt this way in a long time, and this is what it's all about. This is what's being a fan. This is what it is to be a Jet fan, and I love it, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I just want to say one thing before we get out of here, Mike. 12-7 Jets W. The first, it doesn't matter, but the first game of the Salah era, W. I feel good about it. Makes me feel good. Okay, we got a good vibes coming out of the game. No injuries too, Mike, which is tremendous coming out of the game. No one got hurt in the game. I do want to say before we sign out, we know we got Green Bay next week. We're not going to really preview that too much. We're going to talk to you guys after that game and chop it up with you. But this week, Joe Walton passed away. Former Jet head coach. He played 7 years in the NFL, coached the Jets from 1983, I believe, till 1989. And, the first coach, I'm 40 years old. Me and Mike are the same age. The first coach Mike and I can remember, like my memory of the Jets starts with Joe Walton as the coach. Right. And I remember being 5 and 6 years old. And when I was a Jets fan, when I first started rooting, the Jets were good. Because in 85, they made the playoffs. 86, they made the playoffs. So, with Ken O'Brien back there. So that's why Ken O'Brien always had a spot in my heart. Joe Walton, too. I know by 89, they went 4-12. They let him go. Bruce Costley came in. But, my first childhood coach, the first coach I can remember coaching the Jets was Joe Walton. Had a great career. Went on to coach Robert Morris College after that for almost 2 decades. Had a great record there. So I just want to say condolences to his family, Jet Nation, and A.E.B.G. definitely wants to send condolences out. I know that there's not a lot of Jet coaches in the annals of the Jet world, Michael, that we can look back and say had a great tenure. But Joe Walton did make the playoffs twice, right?
He did.
After him was Costlett and Burrell, and then Rich Kotite before Parcells. So he righted the ship there for a little while for us, and he deserves the credit. And I just want to say condolences to him and the family.
Same here. And definitely one of the first Jet coach I remember when I was a little boy, rooting for the green and white. So may he rest in peace. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Absolutely. And that's it for this week, guys. We got Green Bay coming up next week. I think Zach Wilson's going to play probably the whole half, I bet you. We'll have a lot more to talk about. That'll be fun. We'll see the progression of our boy here. If anyone does want to get at us, Michael, support us, or be involved in the A.E.B.G world in any way, shape, or form, how can they do that?
Hey, guys, please check us out on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a listen. Please give us a follow, share our content. We love it when everybody, gives us comments and content. Feedback. We really appreciate it. On Apple, iTunes, please give us a like, rating. We're on Facebook at AEBG.JetsRadio, on Twitter at AEBG_NYJ podcast, and we're on Instagram at jet.AEBG.
You heard the man. On behalf of the biggest Jet fan in the state of Texas, Michael Agaris, my name is Keith Farrell. Get at you next week, everybody. Peace out.